All right. Hey, everybody watching this, which is probably just Natalia and maybe Adrian. Um, uh, Talia, you asked me to um, kind of let you in on how I use ducking and kind of how it works to dip your audio when you're talking and all that. Um, so I figured I'd just make a quick video and show you how. So let's get into it. So first, what I'm going to do is switch scenes so you can see what's going on. And I'm gonna cue up some music. I'm using this synthwave one just because it's usually a pretty consistent volume throughout, and it's loud. So right now I've turned off the ducker that I have on my voice. So what you'll hear when the music spins up is just no processing on the music track. But what you're going to want to do is go into filters. I'll keep these filters up and play with them a little bit and try to explain sort of how I understand them. Let's wait until the music kind of kicks in. That's a pretty good volume. As you can see where my voice is, I'm basically hitting, just touching into the red at like my normal volume. And I've set everything else to kind of be just hitting the yellow. And now going into this, when I turn on the ducker, you probably won't notice a big difference. So this is just normal. And now these are my ducker settings, which I've changed to be very slight. Because I noticed on some of my other stuff that it was like kind of drastic and at least distracting for me. But I'll kind of go through each one of these settings and demonstrate how they work. So the ratio is going to be how much ducking is going to be on the channel and kind of how limiting the ducker is going to work, like, or how basically how much louder the music has to be to start to overcome the level that you've set it at. And so right now I've got it at 20:1, which is really hard. Like, it's never going to get up to that, above that. Below that is the threshold, and that is the threshold that my voice needs to hit in order to trigger the ducker. The attack is how quickly the music will duck, like how quickly the volume dips down. The release is how quickly it comes back. And the output gain is the makeup gain that you use to try to bring up the level of the volume without touching the input of it, which is the fader. For some reason, the way they do this is that your input gain is on the fader in OBS, which I'm not a big fan of, but let me get into this and kind of show you how drastic this can get. So if I want this to trigger at a lower volume, what ends up happening is this ratio starts to come into effect. You hear the music come back up and then you hear it dip down. And that means that when my voice hits this negative 36 dB, which is right around here, when the nominal level gets above that, it dips the volume down. If I were to change the ratio, let me get back to, here we go. If I get back to a lower ratio it's going to be affected less. It's still ducking the volume down, but every time it gets above a certain amount, it allows it to kind of naturally get above that. When I'm ducking though, I kind of want it to hit hard. So that's why I keep it at that 20-to-1. But again, I also don't want my music to duck all that much, so I turn my ratio up a lot higher. Or my threshold, sorry. So the lower the threshold, the more easily the ducker is triggered. And from there, you can decide how much with the ratio, how much you want it to affect. So I feel like even with a 1.5 to 1 or 2-to-1 ratio, that's a pretty good amount of ducking, especially because it's triggering basically every time I start talking. And I'll kick this up so it's a lot more drastic so you can hear. If you increase the attack and the release, you'll basically be hearing this like kind of swelling that happens. Every time I talk, you'll kind of hear it dip, and then it comes back kind of quickly. So I like the attack to be quick, and I like the release to be a little slower, just so that it doesn't feel like it's doing that breathing thing. Oh yeah, kind of important as well, is selecting your ducking source. So I've got my vocal mic selected here as the thing that triggers the ducking. And if I drop mine back to my original settings, got them written down on the side. Again, it's pretty slight. It really only drops it like 3 dB and then lets it come back up very slowly, so that it's almost imperceivable. I think that's a word. And that's just the way I like it to sound. Anyway, hope this helps.